welcome to the Pineapple Pinup, the Hot Wife Life podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about a party that I went to in Las Vegas. I'm going to talk to you about my trip to Las Vegas. I'm going to read an email from a listener and I put out a couple polls. So please feel free to reach out to me with your answers. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. As anyone who's aware of my social medias knows, we went to Vegas for my 50th birthday. My husband planned and organized an entire trip around this milestone birthday. And for many, many, many reasons, I am so incredibly grateful for him taking the time, the effort to think of me as I am approaching what at times has been fairly terrifying milestone in my life. And the funniest part is that we woke up and it was just any other day kind of thing. I wasn't spectacularly changed overnight. I was still the same girl. But this trip to Vegas was, in so many ways, amazing. It was well planned, well varied. It had, it was incredible. We had no issues with the flights getting in and out. It was fantastic. And considering the kind of weather that we were having in the area that I'm in, because many of you may know this or may not know this, but I'm in the Virginia area, close to DC. And my birthday is right around when the inauguration was happening. And the weather here has been spectacularly cold. And so there was a lot of fear that the weather would make it so that we couldn't get in or out. And I mean, not being able to come back was not really an issue. We were fine with that, but not being able to get there was very, very present in our minds. But we got there, and the next day we'd actually hooked up with, we'd signed up for a party, a local party, when we got there. And I cannot tell you how amazing that party was. I met some lifestyle people, the likes of which I didn't know really even existed. And the culture in that area is very, just like it is in my area, is very driven by what most of the economy is built around. So most of the economy in Vegas is built around service, and service is tended to be more needed in the evening hours and on the weekends. So there's not really a lot of time when people who are in the service industry can go to a Saturday night party or can go to an evening party, because that's usually when they're occupied. So this particular party was being held in the daytime in a house, and it was so much fun. Here, when we go to a party, it's usually on Saturday in the evening. It's in a hotel because there is so much need for security, privacy, security clearances, because where we are located, the economy is really driven by that. So where you go, you have to kind of think about what is the economy in this area driven by, and how are the parties going to differ in that way. And so for me, it was very fascinating to be at a daytime party in the middle of the week and have so many people in attendance. It was crazy. And the house was magnificent and it was awesome. And the way that she had everything set up was really great. And there were plenty of spaces for everybody to do. And in the summertime, there was a pool for everybody to, have. It was really so much fun and so eye-opening. It was so intriguing to be, well, as I like to say, traveling for Dick and finding such a treasure trove. I had the best time, and my husband had a fantastic time. But when we first pulled up, we were very hesitant because this was so outside the norm. It was a Thursday afternoon. We weren't expecting, or like it was actually a Thursday morning ish, and we weren't expecting anyone to even be there. And when we pulled up, there were like 6 cars there. We're like, oh man, this is going to be rough. And then we decided to go ahead and go on in and see what we could see. And if it sucked, we would leave, go to the casino, do some playing, whatever. It did not suck. It was so much fun. I met so many great people. The lady who was the hostess of the party, she was awesome. She and I had gotten to talking, and at some point in time, she had been very much in the lifestyle with her husband, and her husband had passed. And she and I discussed how her role in the lifestyle had changed based on that event. Because whether I like it or not, it is something that I think about. It's something that I think about if anything happened to my husband. Would I continue in the lifestyle? Would I continue? Would it be something where the excitement level wasn't there? So she and I were talking, and it dawned on me that she had taken ownership of the lifestyle, and it had changed. It had become something where she was a little bit adrift. She was a little bit um, outside of the where she wanted to be with regards to it had changed for her. She had developed friendships, though, that had allowed her to feel safe continuing in the lifestyle, traveling in the lifestyle with the friends and the community that she had built with her husband. And while it was different, it was still very much a part of her built an established friendship group. And by losing that, she would be losing so much more than just her husband. Um, so I think about the fact that my husband has had health issues, and the fact that there have been times when I have been very close to losing him, and what that would mean for me. So one of the things that I really was forced to look at this birthday was what that means, what I don't want to become. And speaking to this woman at this party, it was so relieving. It was so this is about the lifestyle is a hobby. It is a way to get together with people who are like-minded and community-based, and it was awesome. It was so much fun, and we spent basically the first hour that we got there just kind of getting acclimated to the area. I stripped down into my robe, and I was wandering around, and I was talking to the hostess, and we were waiting for basically the party to get started. And finally I looked at her and I said, "So what is the starting gun for these parties? What is the thing? What's the impetus?" And she goes, "Somebody starts fucking," which was my cue to grab the nearest soldier and take him to the back. And I she has this room that's set up with a sleigh bed that has been in the past roughly used and was damaged. So there was actually a sign on it that said rough play needs to be done on the floor. And there were two different beds on the floor. And there was a couple of other rooms that you could use outside. There were beds outside under pergolas. There's an outside room and a shed that could be used, and the weather is perfect for being outside. It was mid 50s, low 60s. It was beautiful. It was dry and just pleasant. So we ended up talking to so many people and playing with so many people. And at one point, I was on the lower bed, and it was it's the height variations. The higher bed was too high, and the lower bed was too low, and there was just really no um, Goldilocks version. So we had to make adaptations, and I ended up on the higher bed after playing with a couple people on the lower bed, and I ended up with cocks in my mouth, in my hands, and in my cunt. It was just the same thing with a different cast of characters. But it wasn't the same thing. It was so uniquely different because I knew none of these people. These people all knew one another. They had a lexicon and a jargon and nicknames, and they were teasing each other, and they were talking about things that had happened in the past. And it was all very observer relative. And it was so fascinating. And I had such a good time. And of course, the fact that I am a disastrous person with the way that my vagina squirts everywhere. Um, I was of course apologetic to the fact that I am going to ruin some sheets here. I am going to damage some beds here. And I don't feel great about that, but at the same time it is exactly what it is because that's how my body works. And so it was met with a lot of joy. There was one gentleman who was very good with his fingers who kept trying to get the fountains to erupt. And I, yeah, it was incredible. At one point, there was a woman there who was very into pain, and she was playing very close to where I was playing, and we were kind of having a back and forth. And she asked me if I liked pain, and I said yes. And she said, "Can I bite you?" And I said no, because my enjoyment, and I explained it because giving context is good. I said that I am not good with pinchy direct pain. I am much better with um I'm much better with thuddy slappy pain. I like a general overall, but not a site specific pain. So she basically was like, "I understand that completely. I won't do it." I'm like, "Thank you." But that, because we had that conversation in a room with many, many people, the idea that I liked pain became a part of the play. And it was actually so much fun. I, um, I had I had guys lining up to get blowjobs while I was being fucked, and it was so much fun. There was one incident where a gentleman had been using a Her Pleasure condom and didn't bother to mention to me that he'd been using a Her Pleasure condom. And I pulled off and I said, "Something's wrong with my mouth. What's going on with my mouth? Why does my mouth feel this way?" My mouth had basically gone numb. It was like Novocaine Central. And I was like, "What is happening?" And so I did not, and I apologize publicly right now. I did not mean anything by what happened. I was just really confused. And I was really just trying to figure out why the hell something had been altered to my person without any sort of so it ended up I feel like I may have embarrassed this young gentleman, and that was never my intention, and I felt very awful about it, but that happened. And we are, it's one of those things where you figure it out and you just keep moving on. I ended up sucking so much cock, and I ended up fucking so many guys, and I really don't even know numbers because it was just, and okay, I was a novelty. Okay. I had come from faraway lands to play in this area. And many of the people who were there knew me from my FetLife page, knew they had reached out and said, I'm so glad you're coming, kind of thing, because they knew of us. And we ended up meeting so many people and making friends with so many people. And it was so fucking fun. It was, and I mean, I will at some point, I'm sure, get into the details of everything that went down, but it was such a whirlwind. We stayed for, I think about 4 hours. And then I started getting to the point where I needed to go get food because everybody knows that I don't eat before I go to a party because I'm very afraid of the Cosby sweater, and I made that remark at the event and had to explain it, and that was not fun for anyone, especially my husband, who's like, "It's so gross. Stop saying it. So gross." And but we met some amazing women. We met some fantastic men. It was so much fun, and I highly recommend traveling for Dick. I need another destination for that cause. I am thinking about putting something together for my husband's birthday, some quick trip that we can do because that is a very busy time of year for both of us. So I was thinking maybe a long weekend, maybe the eastern shore or like the eastern seaboard, that I could take him and we could just have like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe a Monday where we could just drive somewhere. So if you know of anything that's coming up in the month of April and want to, you know, let me know. I would be so interested because I am obviously in a position right now where I need to plan something for my husband's birthday that's semi as epic as my husband. I don't know that I can ever top what he did for my 50th. It was so amazingly generous and amazingly diverse and fun. And I will get into all of it. It was so much fun. So our trip started on a Wednesday, and on Thursday we went to a lifestyle party. Thursday evening we went to a very fancy dinner, just my husband and I. And we ended up meeting a couple that was visiting from California and talking to them. And then Friday, there was a lot of trips to the airport because my husband had invited my family to come and spend my birthday, or at least go to dinner with me on my birthday. And so Friday, back and forth to the airport, and then we had our big birthday dinner, and it was awesome. We went to a steakhouse at the casino, and it was really, really good. And then on my actual birthday, which was on Saturday, we went to a show and we went down the strip. We checked out the Bellagio fountains, which was beautiful. And if you've never seen it, It changes all the time, but it's really worth going and seeing, um, just taking 5 minutes, because usually that's about how long it is. It's about 5 minutes, and then just taking a minute to breathe and see and have the beautiful music playing, and it was a lot of fun. And then we went to dinner with my family again. And then after dinner, we broke off. My husband, my son, and I, we went to Fremont Street. And wow, what a fucking vibe. That place is awesome. That place is so great. There were live bands, and there were partiers, and there was these casinos with their doors open and gambling, and just the spectacular light show and people screaming as they ziplined overhead, and just all these street performers that were convincing you to come and interact with them. And it was so much fun. It was so it was a vibe. It was such a good and fun vibe. And then we went back to the casino. And then Sunday we got up very early and we drove to California. My husband and I are both Cali kids. So we drove back to basically our old haunts. We went to a beach that he and I have been to before, and we went and saw the Pacific Ocean, because when you leave California, one of the things that is so abundantly clear is that the oceans are so different from one another. Um, the Pacific is a cold plunge. The Atlantic is a bathtub. The Pacific is violent in its beauty, and the Atlantic is rolling in its beauty. The mountains are so much grander on that side, and the hills that they call mountains over here are so much more accessible. If you've ever been up a tall, winding road in California, you know what I'm talking about, where like steep cliffs on one side and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we went to when we went and visited some of his family or friends that he considers family. And then we came back the same day back to Vegas because we needed to get people to the airport the following morning. And then Monday, my husband ended up getting sick. Got a little bit of a flu. He wasn't feeling super well, so he spent a lot of the day in his room or in our hotel room, and then he came out with me for a little while. We played at one particular table and had a total blast, and then decided to pack it in, go get some food, and just call it a night, because we had to get up and go very early the next day to get on a plane home, which was sad and tragic, but happened anyway. And then we got on the plane, we got off the plane, we got our car, and we drove home. And it was relaxed and well scheduled. And it was probably one of the best vacations I've taken. My husband and I did such a variety of things that nothing felt monotonous and nothing felt like, well, we've been doing this for too long. It was so good. It was so, and I can't keep saying, oh, it was good. It's good. It's good. It was, but there's no way to define it. It was exciting, and it was relaxing, and it was just so many things. And it was so many pieces and parts that all came together in this like beautiful way. And I am eternally grateful to my husband for taking me and putting me on this considered pedestal. He thought about me in such a beautiful way. And I felt so very seen and I felt so very celebrated. And for no other reason than the fact that he and I are a unit. Um, I felt so celebrated, and it was 100% amazing, 100% awesome. And there was nothing about it that I would change, nothing about it that I would alter. And it was just fantastic. Um, I'm not entirely sure why I just did an ad for Las Vegas, but whatever. So I got a question that's kind of for me and kind of for you. So please feel free to weigh in, catch me on any of my socials, my email. But let's try to see if we can come to get kind of a poll going. Where do you feel comfortable meeting playmates? Okay. Where do you feel comfortable meeting playmates? Does it have to be in a hotel? And I know that this can vary. I know that this can change. So, um, to start, let's start with initial meetings. Hotel, party. Um, do you invite them over to your house? And now, after a while, you've invited them to your house. Do you play in a guest bedroom, in your living room, in your marriage bed? Where do you play? These are all things that I have one particular listener who has sent me this question and kind of wants to know what everybody thinks. So feel free to reach out to me and I will basically read some of your comments on here and let people know what it is, how you feel about it. Okay. I'll answer this question for myself. My husband and I, we like to meet people at a party or at an event so that we can kind of interact with them and see if there's chemistry. Once that has taken place, then we will find select people that we will want to play with again. And we have done meetings it just depends on logistics as to what's most convenient for everyone. And there are a few people that have been invited to my home. And when they come to my home, I actually do fuck them in my marriage bed. And I do. And my husband fucking loves it. And I have actually had this question out there before, and a gentleman said that he likes to actually have the wet spot on his side of the bed because it's just more proof that his wife did this thing and now he's sleeping in the remains of it all, and he loves that feeling. My husband is very much like, keep your mess on your side of the bed. As a matter of fact, like it's become kind of a running joke with us where he will literally do it to irritate me. But this is kind of something that is very interesting. And I would love to hear from all of you about, where are you comfortable participating in lifestyle situations? Is it too intimate in your marriage bed? Is it too sterile in a hotel room? What's your reasoning? What's your thought process? Let's have a conversation. I got another question from another listener in Canada, and he's wondering what apps or special sites you all use in Ontario that are ways of finding one another. So I am obviously not from Canada, and I don't know what apps are specific to you all. If any of my listeners from Ontario know of specific apps that they're using or um, of how you're finding one another, I am also going to put out a blast on my Insta, and I'm also going to put out a blast on my FET. So anybody who knows what apps you guys are using to find one another in Ontario, Canada, I have a listener who's looking for some advice. So I got an email that I want to kind of keep a little bit anonymous, but I think that this is some really good information. Hi, I just enjoyed listening to your cream pie cleanup podcast. Thank you for sharing your experience, but I can only speak for myself, but another critical essential dynamic at play for me and quite possibly for numerous other men is power exchange. The best way I can articulate the psychology is a complete mental liberation through the ultimate surrender and submission to your woman's sexual power by way of licking and sucking her bull semen from her vagina. I say this as a man who at work and in public leans more toward the dominant end of the spectrum. I also have no desire for direct sexual contact with other men. Cream pie cleanup for me is akin to an act of worship of my sexual goddess, thereby feeding off of her sexual energy and demonstrating my complete devotion to her. To me, there's no other act more intimate or more bonding with my woman. This intimate bonding experience also gives the man a sense of security in a time in this very vulnerable relationship dynamic. The husband of a hot wife or a cuckoldress wishes for his woman's bulls to totally blow her mind, giving her pleasure that he alone cannot. For the vanilla man, this is incredibly threatening. For the stag or the cuck, on the other hand, he knows that although her bull gives her more sexual pleasure, at the end of the day, her heart belongs to him and him alone. This tug of war between body and heart and living on the edge of possibly losing the battle is exhilarating but scary. Cleaning her bull's cream pies from her provides him the assurance that she is connected with him in the deepest level and that her heart will remain his. Um, is this totally nuts, illogical, and incomprehensible for the majority of the population? Absolutely. Although we are a distinct minority, there's a lot of us out there. I wish you the best and hope this additional perspective helps you better understand why some men totally lose themselves in cream pie cleanup. That, yes, and that has been my experience too. It has been an experience where it reconnects me to my husband. It puts him back in a position where he gets to experience viscerally that pleasure that I received. He gets to experience it on one more level. And there is very much that submission thing going on. It is unfathomable for some people because their psychology is just built differently. And that's okay because none of this is about everybody should have the same experience. That's never been the case. And it's 100% about consent, about what you're consenting to, about what they're consenting to, and about how your relationship is built off of those particular desires. So I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm so grateful that I got this email that I could share with all of you. I love the fact that this is all been being discussed because a lot of times there's so much judgment behind certain acts. There's so much judgment behind certain desires. And for me, we the more we talk about them, the more we normalize them, the more we give some psychology behind them, the less angst and fear and shame are there with these things. So for me, I'm so grateful for that email. I'm so grateful to have that information, to that another perspective for how this has conjured and like how this has taken their relationship to one more level and one more aspect of play that allows them to reconnect and rekindle and know that pleasure is pleasure, but love is love. And my husband knows that no matter where I fuck, I sleep in his bed every night because that's what I'm choosing. I'm not required. It's not, but I choose to sleep with my husband every night because he is my person. He is the love. And he is, no matter what pleasure I get from anyone else, that's what I call home. Anyway, just another perspective that I found incredibly fascinating. And I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for sending that. And when you do send me something, please let me know if it's okay for me to share with the rest of the audience, because a lot of times it doesn't say, and I'm making a guess that you are giving me information that you want other people to know. And if there's anything too personal and you don't want it shared, please just let me know in anything that you send me. Thank you for joining me today on the Pineapple Pinup, the Hot Wife Life. I know that I missed last week, and I'm so sorry about that. I tend to get sick after traveling, and my husband, of course, patient zero, because he was sick already, got me a little ill, and so I wasn't really able to talk last week. So this week, I hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I'll be able to put out another episode, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't hold me to it. But I am so sorry that y'all missed me last week, and hopefully you enjoy this episode. And remember, if you have answers to my questions or just want to ask me a question or have a topic you'd like me to cover, please don't hesitate to hit me up at pineapplepinuppod@gmail.com, or you can reach me on my Insta or my FetLife. Most of my socials are listed in my just in the description of the show. So hope to hear from you.